Welcome back to the Something's Wrong Here podcast, a Broken Reel Media production. And we are extending our episode of Dumbing Down America. So we are going to continue that. We thought there was enough info to keep it going for a second episode. I am Randy, and I'm here with my two co-hosts.
Ken-zee.
And I'm Brian.
And
this beer tastes like Hawaiian Punch.
Like Hawaiian Punch.
Yeah. It totally scratched that kid. You remember what I'm talking about?
I got diabetes.
I don't know if you guys were around when Hawaiian Punch was around.
I sipped that and immediately I felt
Hawaiian
my
Punch?
sugar spike.
Hawaiian Punch is still around.
I remember in the 80s where they came in the big fucking huge can. Big can.
Yeah.
And you open it with like
a can
oil
opener.
key. Like it's like oil
Yeah.
key, dude. You popped you in. That's old school shit.
Yeah, it's
I believe in the day they call it the church key.
Yeah. I think I was hanging out on the telephone with the long cord. The long twisted up cord at the time. Opening up my Hawaiian Punch.
Were your feet behind you kicking? Who
No.
was the lucky last?
girl talk.
Who's the lucky last, Brian?
It's a little girl talk.
Oh, boy.
I think it was Chappelle who was talking about purple drink. That's red drink. It's just sugar, water, and red.
Yeah.
That's about all it is.
It tastes good. The stuff's delicious.
It does taste good. Maybe it's a red dye.
Tastes like
That's
a
why
tastes like a
America
picnic
is
when you were a
dumbing
kid.
down.
I want to hit you with a question before you get to dive into yours.
Okay.
All right. Everyone, we all live in a society where we're trying to progress, be better. We're trying to figure our own
some
stuff
of us.
out, right?
Some of
we
us.
want to believe that.
We
The
want
majority of us.
we want human flourishing.
Okay, yeah.
It's difficult for me to process how people don't understand the anger, the what's wrong here, the anger between the older generation and the younger generation right now.
Okay.
And I think I believe that you have two different revolutions occurring. You have an industrial and a technological.
I agree 100%.
Well, the Industrial Revolution, or it's just been going. It's,
I want to know
never
what
stopped.
level that panders into every question you have.
About the dumbing down of America?
Just a generational gap across it. Because like when you give us 93% of us know that, milk is going to come out of cows typically the same, and 7 of us think it's chocolate if it's out of a brown cow. What age group is this? Where are these people from? Like, I want to know, that's our problem? Or?
I'd say that's a curve.
I would say it's probably millennial
it's
down.
real flat, real low until you get to the younger
but if it's millennial
generation.
down, who taught that millennial that?
Actually, I think they probably taught themselves it by searching on the internet, dude, with no context.
They saw a Vine or a meme.
I think there's something to do with this is not a pejorative. This is not an insult to any demographic, but the environment that you learn in. Mm-hmm. When your brain is developing and knowledge is developing, you could get so dense and abstract with the ideas here. But the fact of the matter was, when we were young, no fucking old jokes. When we were younger, there was certainly, if you wanted to learn about something, you could learn about it. But it wasn't.
You picked up stone tablets and read it.
Yeah, it wasn't just.
You went to the library.
Yeah, you went to the library in Alexandria and you unpacked all the scrolls.
Well, I was saying for real, you went to the library.
Yeah, you wanted to find something. You go look in an encyclopedia and you try to find as much data about it.
You read a textbook.
We had encyclopedias. Like if you wanted an answer to something, you literally went to the wall that had all the books spread out.
And what's strange is we all can sit here and say, yes, that was what happened. And it wasn't particularly difficult. Okay. It just takes a little bit of motivation. You want to learn about something, you can learn about it. Now it's not that you can just learn about it. Mm-hmm. I mean, really, everything is so. I mean, data aggregation. You can learn deep things.
Correct.
Quickly. Hey, and on a second note, just on a tangent, just think about this as practicality goes. I'm not completely against this because I love being able to fix my lawnmower by going and watching YouTube video.
And everything else.
This
It is amazing.
Correct. Is it easier today to learn correct or incorrect information?
Both.
Oh, that's
both. I would say you're teetering back and forth.
You're tickling my brain with the we have. If you're going to ask that question, you want to get an answer. The only way you can do it is to talk about how people form knowledge. I mean, let's break it into two types of knowledge. All right. Okay. There's knowledge that all three of us, can agree. Mm-hmm. This fact is a fact, and we don't have to do any work to do it.
Correct.
Like I can say 1 + 1 = 2, and all of us will agree that's a math building block. We understand 1 + 2. That's it. That's what I would call.
Unless you're Terrence Howard.
That's a priori. That's a priori. No, that's 1 × 1 = 2. But that's a priori. Like we trust it. We don't feel like we have to.
Sing from the Cowboys fan.
Yeah, no shit. We don't feel like we have to justify our work, right? But then there are things more. This is like more domain specific into physics or mathematics. That if I put a thought forth toward you, you're like, well, we can figure that out, but we're gonna have to do some real work. So, where do people get that? Where do they go? I mean, do people now with things like Wikipedia and all this data at your hands to learn about? Do they really feel like they're becoming experts by reading a long article in Wikipedia? Because I will tell you, most things, if you don't know anything about a topic, I could go read a 3 or 4 page wiki article, and you'd be like, "Holy shit, man, you know a lot about that."
All that Wikipedia is the old Cliff Notes books of any subject you've ever wanted.
Yeah, I agree. I understand.
But I've never done it. But can't anybody edit those?
They are protected. Like a lot of Wikipedia pages are protected.
Some you can, some you can't.
Yeah. You could go make your own Wikipedia page about you and edit it.
Gotcha.
But
so I've been pondering what you were asking, and I've got. I hate to get this deep with it, but I have a couple answers. One, let's go back to episode 1. 70% of marriages starting around like the 80s ended up in divorce. So when I was I'm a product of divorce. I'm a product of parents living on 2 sides of the country. With that being said, before they got divorced, a lot of time was spent with me reading, education, learning. We have 70% of families out there. And then if you get into, minority groups, 70% of single motherhood right off the bat. That's not even getting into the divorce rate.
Yep.
At 70%, time is now cut in half for 70% of families. So you're not getting that one-on-one time extra to be reading, going over spelling, this, that, and the other. And another part is a psychological aspect. You're not getting that learning, you're not getting that time, but you now have 2 people in your life 90% of the time are hurting. They're trying to heal themselves.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't mentally there. They have checked out because they're trying to raise a human being or 2 or 5.
And they're probably working harder because they're now on their own to do it.
Correct.
Yep.
There's that. And then you throw in the aspect of now you're working harder to pay child support to somebody that may not even have the kids half the time, and then you're still supporting them. Let's say you get every other weekend and a couple days during the week. You still have to pay for the child while they're there. So you might have to pick up a second job. Yeah. But I want to say that a lot of the time we don't think about the mental aspect that a person, usually when a marriage ends, is hurting.
Yep.
And how do you hurt and try to put food on the table and provide double of what you had to before and progress this knowledge to everybody else? I mean, you don't even, depression sets in and you don't even care about yourself.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, do you guys think that plays into it at all?
I think there's a factor that could be had out of so many substantial things like what you've just said.
Yeah.
I think that what you have said is a very substantial factor for a lot of people. And I think that you could take that factor, and I bet you could find other little,
subsets,
networks of derivative factors that are also playing into that. And I think there's contributions all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and lots of factors.
There's questions that I can ask. There's no answers I can give than I think.
Well, here's part 2 of your question that I wanted to get into. Was you asked basically the separation between millennials, boomers. Boomers hold the number 1 source of wealth in this country.
Sure. Yep.
Now, I left home about 18 years old. Now, I'm not going to say my family didn't play a factor. I didn't come back. But I was on my own pretty much. I learned what bills were. I learned that adulting sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we can all agree adulting sucks. If we can go back.
Has its moments.
There is some fun. The part where I can wake up and realize that I can have cake for breakfast and nobody can tell me no.
Dude.
That is the best part about being an adult.
Also, you should probably tell the Dallas Cowboys to stop eating cake for breakfast.
Yeah, it'll
They
help.
suck.
It'll help.
Oh, man. I mean, yes, as an adult, I can freely choose to be a Cowboys fan too, and somebody should make a law against it.
Hey, man.
This is honestly where we all just learn your level of intelligence.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with a Sisyphean journey of falling down the fucking mountain.
We're talking about the
rolling
dumbing
rock
down.
back up,
You know
man.
what? The Cowboys are good at proving gravity's existence. They fall a lot.
He's a modern man Sisyphus, dude.
Yeah.
He's doing the duty of carrying the rock up to the top of the hill, and every time he gets just to the top, he knows what's going to happen. It's going to go all the way back down. But you know what he does? He goes right down to the bottom and starts pushing that sucker back up again.
You are a great ant.
That is a life of duty.
So is that once the ball hits it, is that the first playoff game of the year and it just tumbles right
I guess your timeline can start however you want it
The top Sisyphus got up to the top.
Kickoff one,
Yeah.
then it's tumbling
And then it
down
just goes.
from
No, we usually make it to the playoffs.
Do we?
Or we usually make it to the playoffs. Or
Yeah.
playoffs is
Yeah,
in
that's
sight.
one of those
But then
bounces
game
down
one
the
of the
hill.
playoff happens and it's just...
It's like the bounce down the hill, you know. The
Got
tire
my
will never
own-
roll just perfectly down the hill. It'll bounce a little bit.
It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
Exactly. But we have boomers. They hold the majority of the wealth right now.
Sure.
And then we have, we'll say 40 and under.
Okay.
I was one of these people who said, well, work harder. Because at the time, I mean, I wasn't trying to stash away wealth. I wasn't thinking about retirement. I wasn't doing this.
Sure.
I wasn't doing that. I had everything I needed. So I'm
Right.
like, well, these people who are complaining that they don't have what they need, they just need to work harder. You don't need the $10 avocado toast. You don't need the $7 drink. You don't need this, that, and the other. That is not necessary. But that $7 drink is now the average.
Yeah.
That $10 avocado toast is a appetizer at best if you're lucky.
Well, that's the weird economic balance is when you get inflation. When you get inflation, you get wage inflation as well. That's kind of goes with it. The problem is
Maintain balance.
typically wage inflation doesn't keep up.
Well, no, you have to make, I believe right now to get a loan, 145 to 160 depending on where you're at, interest rates.
Depends how big your house is.
What's that?
Depends how big your house. I mean, how big a house you want to buy.
Well, that too. But I mean, that's a national average of what they're requiring, and then they want $60,000 down.
Well, you got to have 20%.
Yeah.
Unless you want to really get turned on
PMI,
PMI
baby.
and all that
PMI.
good
and
stuff.
You can work around that. Like we worked around that on my first house. We never paid PMI, but it was a part of our loan was like adjustable interest rate, some fixed, some like ARM, and we never got burned. We never got burned because interest rates money was free back then, dude.
Right.
Money was free.
That's how old you are.
Yeah.
But I also saw in 2008, I saw, and I still remember it because I was shocked by it. Somebody had an adjustable rate mortgage,
Money was free.
Yeah,
We used hammer and chisel and had our notes that way.
and they had a rather expensive house for the time, 2008. I want to say it was like a $600,000 house,
a big
but they were
house.
paying, $2,500, $3,000 was their loan.
Yep. God, that's a huge mortgage.
That's fat.
By the
Huge
time,
house payment, man.
by the time they lost their house,
Yeah.
their payment was almost $8,000 a month.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what we call adjustable rate mortgage
Yeah.
or ARM.
Yeah.
Yes.
Big old arm, dude.
Arm,
Points straight
big
up
arm.
usually.
And yeah, banks like to make that ARM.
Well, no, to be fair, there was about a 10-year period in the early 2000s where if you took like, they call it 80-20 loan for your house, where you have part of it's an arm, part of it's fixed.
Yeah.
Money was so cheap, like the interest rates
It
were,
was.
the prime rate's zero. So, I don't even think.
ARMs were the smarter way to
Yeah,
go.
you
It
could
was.
definitely
They were
you could
literally-
definitely build equity in your house a lot faster.
Yeah, you were literally taking advantage of your money.
Speaking of dumbing down, holy shit.
But with that being said,
Dumbing down or aging down.
Yeah.
we
something.
have the boomers,
Yeah.
as we'll call them,
Yeah.
thinking the younger generation is lazy, and we have gotten lazier.
Fucking old
You want to know
bastards.
what I'm terrified of with that? I think you're leading here.
Okay.
How many stupid fucking people are about to be loaded?
Well, stupid people are about to be the majority. And that's the thing.
I mean, how many people who have no idea, no concept
about
of the
to-
real world
to inherit?
are about to inherit and
Sure,
be
generational
rich?
wealth.
Oh yeah, the generational wealth. A lot of stupid people are about to be stupid rich, and they're about to do a lot of stupid things with it and
That's
be
possible.
poor again.
But
I don't like
does
to tell anybody what
does
to do with
that
their
also
money.
pump up our own economy that we've created in a free market system?
In a way, yeah, it does.
In a way, because the way I
It's
view it,
redistribution of wealth in a dumbing down term.
it is. I have no way of proving this. I mean,
Not until time.
there's
This
a way
is
to
gonna
prove
be
it.
good. All right.
There is a way to prove it, and
he says he
I
can't
just have
prove
not
it.
done the research on it. Here's my theory of why we are doing so well in the economy and why the boomers are making so much money in the market right now and everything. We have people who are going to college, and they're getting out. They want a piece of the American dream. I went to college. I went to school. I got out of college. I got my degree. I got my piece of paper that says I am certified to work.
Yep.
They go to get a job, and
I don't think
They've-
that it means that, but
well,
we'll split hairs.
we're going to put it at the
Okay.
menial,
Okay.
the simplest.
Society's way of saying you're ready to work.
You're ready to work.
Yeah.
So you now have this piece of paper that says I can go work in this field or that field,
Yeah.
and they go to get the job. Well, they find out that their job, starting out, top pay 45, 50, maybe 75,000, which
Sure.
isn't going to get you very far in today's economy right this second.
Go be a bartender and make more money.
So
Yes,
what
you're going to be
you
looking
can.
for a teammate.
You're looking for a teammate, a roommate, but they're not doing that. What they're doing is they're getting the job because they can't have a teammate because their school loan is now eating up 90% of their income. So they are
That's a
staying at
problem.
home. And if you have to have 60,000 down and have to pay this much money, which they don't have on a house payment, they're staying at home and they're saying, I have no hope in the near future of doing this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go buy tennis shoes. I'm going to go buy a new computer. I'm going to buy the latest gaming device. I'm going to buy the newest TV because they have just enough income to do that
for a couple little creature comforts, right?
And it's pumping the economy.
I don't know. I think that's the next. I think
There's
that's the
an
next
aspect of
shift. I think that's the next shift. But if you look at over time, the living habits, right? Human beings. You look back 100 years. It's back when I was a kid. It was not unusual at all to have multi generations living in a house. But basically meant, your parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, there wasn't as much money, man. Everybody was independent.
Yeah.
Not everybody had their own, 3,200 square foot house. You had to kind of consolidate your assets in a way by doing that. And hey, honestly, man, anything that keeps the kids around, I don't know. I'm kind of that old guy who's like, when you're 18, you got to get the fuck out of my house now. But now I'm like, man, I don't want him to leave.
You'd like the idea of
Because if my daughter got out and got a job, I mean, I would say live here for a few years, save some money.
Have you ever heard, are you familiar with Singapore and like what they do for family tax credits?
I am not, but I'm interested.
Okay, so
Fire away.
They it's to basically help assist your own family. And so if you're willing to take care of X, Y, and Z, multiple generations, you end up with tax credits if your family lives within a radius of each other.
That's good. Well,
So, and you then are encouraged to use those credits to provide the health care, the necessary care
That's
for
good.
the
I like that. That's a
the
good idea.
members.
That's a good idea.
That's not a terrible idea.
That's one of these damn hippie liberal ideas.
So we're talking about the dumbing down of America.
You hippies, liberals.
I'm sorry. What are you?
What do you mean?
Hippie.
I'm a older hippie. I'm a prep school hippie.
Does that make you a chippy?
No, it makes me a
You sound a little chippy.
boom / hoomer.
A hoomer,
Bippy,
a hippie.
a bippy, hippie boomer. I'm not a boomer. I'm not that old, but
No. So we're talking about the dumbing down of America, and you know what I haven't seen?
no
I
time.
haven't seen anything about like Nessie or Bigfoot. I haven't seen anything about them in the news.
Cryptoids?
No cryptoids, no nothing. I like to think that they're off maybe having a
Well, so okay, think of when we like to look at pictures and think about the possibility, of the existence of these creatures. Which again, I'm a pretty open thinker. I know there are tons of species of things that we haven't encountered.
Absolutely.
Right.
Tons and tons. I mean, oceans being the place where it's like there's shit there that we have no clue about.
Oh, I think we've discovered 10% of the ocean.
What is funny, right? I mean, it's right away. It's so obvious in there. It's almost seems stupid, but I mean, everybody's got a fucking great phone camera. Mm-hmm. You'd think we'd found everything by now.
I laugh because you just said Nessie and what was the other one?
Bigfoot.
Sasquatch.
Well, okay.
Sasquatch.
Yeah, but
Bigfoot.
I'd argue. You go down to some of the rural parts, you're still going to find a community of that real quick.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have a coworker.
Sasquatch and Nessie together having a little.
I have a coworker who's a big believer.
Have a little picnic together,
Bigfoot.
ripping lines off each other's ass, chasing down hikers.
Have you ever heard of Momo?
I want to fucking.
I have
party.
heard of Momo.
What's Momo?
Momo is a online.
No. Missouri Monster.
Oh no, there's another Momo.
Folk's Tale. Momo.
There's another Momo.
Up in Missouri.
I've heard this story before.
You've heard of Momo?
I have not heard of your
Missouri
Momo.
Monster.
I
Missouri
can't tell you the story, but I've heard it.
It's fucking Sasquatch. It's literally, it's a way that fucking kids and campfires were talking about Sasquatch, but they didn't want to give it a name.
Scare stories.
All the church kids got told about Momo, Missouri Monster, because they didn't want to give it a name.
Yep.
They didn't want to give the devil a name or whatever. That it was just
holy
Momo.
Shit,
We've got to generalize this down to Momo. So
That's all right.
Momo was what I figured out. Momo is the story that's been told across every other church denomination kid that's our age.
Makes sense.
There's no Sasquatch or Bigfoot. We all got that from knowing the internet and
have
being
you
a part
ever
of it,
seen
but Momo is what got shared.
Momo.
Have you seen Momo ever when you're hallucinating on like night 2 of the 340?
I see Momo in like Walmart parking lots, and they're like,
I read these posts
right
about
there
the
to me.
racers on that river, and they're like, it's night. There's trees on the side.
Momo's the people that come up to my partner and I, they're like, "Where'd you guys go?" "Oh, those third world countries."
Yeah.
It's Peru.
Yeah.
Were they wearing pajamas in this parking lot?
Just
variable.
that Momo exists. We'll say
chance.
it that
There's a
way.
chance.
But my Momo's different than your Momo.
Total chance for that.
So in 2023, they did a study, and for the first time since basically the last 110 years,
Okay.
IQ average in the United States is no longer 100. It actually dropped 2 points to 98.
Okay.
Which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're talking about
lot.
IQ,
That's a lot.
it's a pretty big drop.
And
all of a sudden.
they really hope that it's not a trend that's going to keep going like that.
Well, and here's the thing: is that they found that it's a trend that's happening across all developed countries.
Yep.
And it's the developed countries that are losing the IQ.
Yep.
And I'm guessing it's because of multiple factors. So
Okay.
social media. What other factors do you think factor into that?
It's very interesting. I mean, any conversation about IQ. Let's just talk about what intelligence is. Okay. Intelligence has nothing to do with memorizing. Has nothing to do with being able to recite facts or follow algorithms or any of that. Mm-hmm. At the base, like what do we consider what intelligence is? Now I've taken IQ tests. Like this is what I feel like they're testing, and I whenever people ask about it or I talk to people about it, I think they're very surprised by what the concept of an intelligence test is. Mm-hmm. Because really, if you think about it, what's the test going to be? You can't make it a history test, because that's implicitly biased towards geography or setting, who you're around, who you've learned from. You can't really do 1 + 1 = 2, again, because this is just algorithm memorization, just like following steps. So you have to find ways to be creative, okay? It's ways to be creative, essentially. So when I was a little kid, we did the IQ test, consisted of a few things. So the first part was 4 pages, and these 4 pages all had like comic panels, okay? Comic panels, just empty panels. And the first page had squares, second page had circles in the middle, the third page had triangles, and the last page had quadrilaterals and diamonds or something. And the idea was, how many different pictures could I draw on the circles page where I use the circle in the middle, and how many pictures of independent things could I draw? I can draw a cookie. I can draw a pie. I can draw a pizza. I can draw a sun. I can draw a wheel. I can draw a smiley face. I can draw all these things, okay? And all I'm doing is taking the idea of a circle, okay, and abstracting forms of circles. Right. And then I do the same thing with squares and the same thing with triangles. Okay. So what is that doing? That's not memorizing.
No.
That's not...
it's recognition of one thing. You're recognizing
pattern
recognition.
Problem solving.
It's
problem solving.
It's like abstracting the concept out of a bunch of things, and how many different things can you pull this idea out of? And then that was the first part. And the second part that I can remember was what looked like a follow the lines. You know what I'm talking about? Like fill in the drawing, fill in the whatever. But it was not anything. It wasn't like there was one answer to it. It was a lot of places where you could go to different places to follow the line, and it's like, what shape could you make out of all these lines?
Yeah.
There's no innate built in the middle there's no right answer.
It's no longer memorization.
Yeah. Well, what's strange is like this is what I abstract
on the
is
fly.
like there's no right answer. There's no wrong answer.
True.
There's no right. There's just answers.
But there's a rubric on how it's graded.
I would like to think they want. I mean, if you're a gifted kid, you're going to be able to do the whole sheet of shapes, and you'll probably ask for another sheet. Because I could do squares and circles like just creatively like that forever.
Well, yeah. So I'm going to ask you each a question.
Oh boy.
The average high school graduate.
Okay.
What do you think their reading level is at graduation?
7th or 8th grade,
Ken-zee?
and that may be overestimating.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and I will take the opposite of whichever he wants. So, do you want 7th or 8th?
I'll do 7th.
I'll take 8. I'll take 6.9.
Well,
take the under.
You should have went with what you said because you're wrong. If you take 8th, the average graduate is between 7th and 8th grade. Their reading level. We are graduating students from high school with about a 25% roughly prolificity rate in reading and mathematics.
Yeah, I believe that.
I believe that.
I believe it, but how scary is that? Why is there no standards?
Well, I mean, we have an education system that is based off of reward to get out of it, to be done, to memorize memorize 6 things, put them 6 lines, and then
teach
recess.
To the test. Teach to the test. No Child Left Behind was catastrophically bad.
Go ask any.
That's where I'm going next.
Any survey of kids. Go to the youngest. What's your favorite school subject? I bet most are going to say lunch or recess.
Yeah,
PE.
Recess. PE.
Something.
Yeah.
But they're not going to say, like, how many of them are actually going to say math?
Maybe art.
Maybe art.
Something that's fun.
Something abstract that's not math.
Remember,
it's not
it was
science,
like
you get 10% other than recess, PE, or
I like gym, music,
lunch,
art. I like those.
And
Art's a little
then
scary.
we take the summer break. It's the dumbest thing. I was the only kid
we
that
went
was
to year
saying,
round.
I was in like 7th grade saying this is stupid.
Yeah, we went to year round, but it was still, you got the same amount of breaks. It was just Christmas was an extra week.
Right.
And you went back to school a month earlier.
Right. And the thing about it is you're still fresher. So you're still able to continue
Yeah,
learning.
I agree with that.
And I mean, if you look at other cultures, the reward system for learning is you go to South Korea. And they have draws. I mean, they literally, the kids are competing for their futures.
Yep.
Because they want to go to one of those tech companies. They want to go to Samsung. They want to go to one of those big dogs.
It's a cultural thing, man.
It's cultural.
It is cultural, but
I will say that education there is, that's their desire.
Well,
that's what they're taught to learn.
Cultural in a different way. So it seems like the East, right? Their focus is STEM.
Yeah,
that's a huge deal.
But I guess I would say
they want to do those careers.
They're motivated to learn, whereas we are not motivating kids to learn. We're motivating kids to get out of class and then go grab whatever distracts them.
Well, but who are these kids? The hypothetical kid you're talking about, who's their idol? Some fucking streamer.
Yeah.
Who's really just? I mean, don't get me wrong. It makes me sound old, and it makes me feel old to say is only because I look at. Like I got a coworker who's got 2 teenage stepsons, 15, 14, 15, 15, 16. And I'm years behind apparently to the phenomenon that these kids will sit and just watch somebody play a video game.
Right.
Yeah.
That has got to be the like, I hate to sound like I'm judging anyone,
But you want
that's,
to know what they often find themselves relating to?
What's that?
The community that's in a live chat.
That's watching or talking.
It's a live chat.
It's a live chat.
Yeah.
So,
and that, I think, is what's more alluring to them.
You
Sorry,
brought
I'm
up-
not trying to block you out when I live chat.
you brought up the No Child Left Behind, how bad it was and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think that we have put more emphasis on identity politics in education instead of the actual education?
There's an element of that, but I think it's only because as a society, when we look at problems like education.
Well, do you think that the No Child Left Behind was a policy based on identity?
No, I don't. I think it's easy to.
Do you think they meant well by
It's
it?
easy to place that in that lens, but I do think that there was an altruistic angle behind that. But I think everybody. Okay, let's assume that to reach the level of intelligence that we want everybody to have to be a well integrated member of society, we have to have certain outcomes that are met by a certain time.
Yeah.
And we can just say reading and writing, communicate, really just communication skills as much as anything.
Yeah.
The minute that you started basing federal funding on the fact that you have to have kids passing standardized tests,
Yep.
that is the absolute natural evolved side effect of that is that you are
all they cared about was teaching the test.
You're going to spend more time teaching the lower group. And let's be honest, and I'm completely honest about this. That doesn't mean that every kid that's not getting extra focus isn't going to thrive, because there are still going to be kids that thrive no matter how much time you give them. They're just going to do it.
I was always in the 95 to 98 percentile, and I didn't know.
Well, just
prep
think of
or
it
anything.
as the bell curve, though, right? You're moving your curriculum down a bit to cater to the low end of the bell curve. And the kids that don't achieve at that level, the kids that are at the top level that will always be high achievers, that doesn't affect them at all. What happens to the middle, though, that 80% in the middle, is that all of a sudden, I'm one of the 80%. I could use some more one-on-one time. I could use some more group function, like talking with teachers. And guess what? You don't get it anymore.
So you mentioned the bottom half.
Yep.
When I was in school, we didn't have like a spectrum.
Okay.
Because now we understand the learning disabilities are more of a spectrum than just, hey, you need to go to this classroom. You can't do
Your
what the rest
X
of
number of dumbs.
Yes, you're this many dumbs, so
Move
you
to
need
this
to
many dumbs
Move
classrooms.
to this
Yes.
class.
So there wasn't this spectrum. So it wasn't they were taught as dumb,
Yeah.
and some of them may not have been. It's just they were on a spectrum and needed that little tweak.
Yeah. I would say if the focus was more like that, as opposed to like, okay, let's talk about it, like I said before, about human flourishing. If you want human flourishing, that's what you want. Okay. You can't teach to a test. You can't make you, because education, that just becomes pump and dump, dude.
Yeah.
Why are you learning? You know?
And then that's going to lead me into is college is just letting people down. Like you brought up the STEM. Everybody's wanting to get into the STEM.
Yeah.
We are allowing students to show up. They sit down with a counselor. I remember sitting down with my counselor, and we went through, what is your goals? What do you want to do? This, that, and the other. They laid out the classes that I needed to do that. Why are we not, especially females, why are we not pushing females in a STEM direction? Because we are lacking so many females in the STEM industry.
I feel like there is a big push for that, though, at the same time right now.
But why are we allowing the lesbian dance theory, somebody to sit down and say, that, well, this is going to be my major, and allowing that to happen? But we're not saying, hey, have you ever thought of this? Why aren't we starting in high school? Over in England, we are saying, all right, here's the deal. You're going to be a doctor by what your IQ is showing, and you're probably going to be a guy who digs ditches.
We've politicked everything into our education system. We have a Department of Education and a governmental system that's based off of candidates that go 4 years, 4 years, 4 years, and we all agree, oh wait, no, 50% at all times agree that whoever it is a piece of shit. And then you have someone like a Betsy DeVos who's like, I've never taught any kid ever, but albeit not the best choice in my opinion.
So for anybody who wants to say that, I'm like,
nice.
That's a good one. So anybody who says, well, you don't know what you're talking about, you're full of shit. I went to college. I got the degree. It took a long time because I paid mostly cash. So I didn't get my degree till I was 28, I believe.
Yep.
You know what I did a year after I graduated?
not something to do with that degree.
I started digging ditches,
Yeah.
and I haven't made less than 6 figures since I started digging ditches.
Do you want to know what's crazy? I get that.
Yeah,
I get that.
and I could have started at 18.
Yep.
Luckily, I stretched it out, but I wasted 10 years of my life.
You want to know what I regret?
What's that?
I wish I would have been an electrician. Jobs are the walls are always built. It's
Oh,
always
yeah.
a little
Yeah,
warmer
yeah.
inside.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. They've got their other days kind of thing, but I always look back and I have an uncle who he was a very successful electrician, and I always thought, yeah, that was what I probably would have done in hindsight, just because
And they're all making 6 figures.
electricity. That's where people
union gigs through pension.
electricity is where
pension.
people start to see magic, though, because you can't tell if it's on or
I hate.
off, and
I don't mess with electricity.
people get shocked once
Oh,
and
I
they
do.
start calling numbers.
I love playing with electricity.
So
man.
so to wrap this up, I mean, is colleges failing
Yes.
the youth?
Yes.
Only
College admission scandal.
Well, there's,
I mean, that should portray a huge fear
I
of
think-
what's going on.
I think the proliferation of
Money.
of liberal arts degrees, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Because there's,
well, I'm gonna stop. Let me stop you right there. I have a list.
oh boy,
I have a list of degrees offered by colleges. It's a short list,
Okay.
and then I'm gonna let you finish, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
okay,
Harvard offers Taylor Swift and Her World. Eastern Tennessee University
class.
offers Surviving the Zombie Apocalypse.
okay.
Cornell offers tree climbing.
okay, that's actually pretty
That's interesting.
I'd take that.
That could be
I would take disc golf
foresting
class too.
or
Tree climbing, though, is an art based
a
off
practical-
of leverage.
it's a very practical skill,
and
too.
Honestly,
it's
knowing how to
practical,
climb,
but how much money are you going to make off of tree climbing skills?
all I'll say is knowing how to climb is a lot better than teaching me the English that I had to take in a certain university that didn't teach me a goddamn thing other than how to skip class and show up for
Tree
tests.
climbing is that's just a PE credit.
So MIT offers
Better
How
than
to
English.
Start a Revolution.
okay,
Virginia offers Game of Thrones.
There you go.
Which is
could-
just Game of
I
Thrones.
could see that being that could be a class.
Massachusetts MIT Mathematics of Street Fighting.
That sounds fun.
I will
Cornell.
say mathematics of street fighting would have some hellacious physics involved.
Yeah,
So
It
I-
would.
I want to know, like, in these classes, like, what level of applicability do we have in numbers so
There was
I do have a
mathematics
question
and
on there.
physics involved in
Yeah,
that one
yeah,
when
yeah.
I
'Cause
read
I
up
was
on
saying,
it.
if you're going to tell me about street fighting, I want to make sure that these
Leverage
people are,
and
yeah.
there
hit
was that
markers all
involved in it. So there was
Okay.
some more mathematic based.
What if this is just universities getting articles in these big clickbaits on the sponsored links because they found a way to add math and physics to
I
sociali-
think it's actually pretty
Add
wise.
math,
society
add
relatable.
math to this. Cornell punk culture.
Oh, well,
You can add math to that. There's statistics all over the place.
you don't have to.
Well,
that
you can
could
add a
be-
statistic to anything.
That could be psychology, sociology,
Everything's
anthropology.
math then.
Cornell again. Witchcraft, magic, and religion, from Stonehenge to Harry Potter.
That'd be
Honestly, that'd be an
fun. That'd
incredible
be fun.
class.
That'd be
I
an
think.
interesting class.
That one I
think.
found could be applicable to history and
Think about what we're at right now. We're at a place in time where in our in our country's history, less than 400 years ago, we were Salem, Massachusetts, witchcraft, magic, burning people,
Yeah.
and we've now given the masses of youth
Can I correct you?
series.
We dunk
Can I
them.
correct
We
you?
dunk them if they float.
not one person was burnt in Salem. They were all hung.
Fuck off. You look like an idiot. Wrap this up.
We're all fucking
All right,
idiots.
so the last one, Southern California, selfie class.
That's brilliant.
That's would that be
I
like
could see the media,
would that be like
maybe.
a
Think
creative,
about
yep.
the-
Well,
think-
photography.
That's a
take
level of
credit for
photography
photography.
that is its own
Yeah.
cultural dominance now.
Yeah.
It's real.
Yep.
It is applicable in a way,
I'll
but
say it
that's how
this
we're making
way.
our millions. That's how
It's
kids
real.
are teenagers. That's how they're making their millions.
Whether
is
you
social media.
whether you emotionally like the fact that it's real or not doesn't fucking change the fact on that.
I think a lot of those are interesting.
I do too.
Like the Game of Thrones. I would argue that
And if you're gonna sit here and shit
Now-
on the Taylor Swift class, that's how to be a billionaire in my opinion. That's the
So
first thing
as
I
a
heard.
parent,
yeah.
you just paid $32,000 to find out that your daughter is taking
Yeah,
a
she-
selfie class.
she wouldn't take that class.
Well, that wasn't the question.
She really would.
He would be more pissed if she was taking English 1 as a freshman because he knows damn well she doesn't fucking need it.
Well, yeah. And that's when I started.
But
my
that's
first
a
year,
required credit, isn't it?
Yep.
my
It sure
first
is.
year was the stupidest year ever because I had to take stuff. It's like I got like 110% in the class.
Okay, before we wrap up, real question, last question.
Okay. And then we'll get final
What
thoughts.
is the absolute number of credit hours that are applicable to anyone's studies out of the 128 required?
Maybe 30.
I would say I put in.
I was going to give it 45.
I was going to say 45. I was saying 40, but then I'm like 45. Get right in the middle of it.
I
45.
I mean, it depends.
45 was my...
About a
It
semester
depends.
or a
Hold
year and a
on.
half. I would
let's
say.
assume if
Yeah.
you were a typical fuck off student that didn't care and got a 2.5 GPA in high school and didn't have to work very hard, you're probably not a very good writer. You're probably not a very clear, concise thinker. So in that case, if you went and you had the fear of God in you, you realize this is an opportunity for me to fucking get sharper and figure shit out. I would say that almost 100% of it could be used practically, but there's always going to be some fluff. Like I took things, I took macro, microeconomics. I took finance. I took accounting for business. These are all things that conceptually it's nice to learn, but I don't use them.
All right, Ken-zee, final thoughts. Dumbing down of America.
Episode 3 will come out sometime.
Yeah.
All right, all right. So with that, there is never a limited source of content. We'll call it.
You're talking to an idiot about being an idiot. This is my specialty.
I can roll. Yeah,
I've
we can
just
roll.
been listening
We could go all
and
day.
enjoying learning today because that's where I stand.
As I
Oh,
picture it
boy.
right now, the aliens that were coming to make contact just kept going by. Like, nope, fuck that.
My
I'm
biggest-
out. I'm gonna go ahead and keep going.
My biggest takeaway is if people are thinking that we're sitting here trying to sound intellectual and shitty or like we're better or something smarter, I immediately take all that and think, fuck me, I'm the stupidest one in the room again by definition, and immediately start to take it back to what a hockey coach taught me. You got to suck to get better.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm back to dumb, only encouraging to learn.
which is
If
a good
I
point.
can be
But
dumb and encourage myself to learn at any point, 30 minutes a day. I take 30 minutes a day to myself to try and learn something.
so
Yeah.
we should reflect internally and try to better ourselves.
Everyone is stupid in some areas.
Well, that's
True.
It is.
being pleased with what you know and not learning anything else is, to me, is stagnation, leads to dying.
Absolutely, Brian. Final thought.
Final thoughts. We could probably do a final thoughts every time we do an episode like this, because I think the dumbing down of U.S. America could go. It's dumbing down of the West.
Coming soon.
Yeah, part whatever coming whatever.
Part 15.
We like to talk about, like to talk about dumb people. Us.
Talk about what's wrong here, and that is one of the major things that is wrong.
So I like to tie it in again with just the concept of human flourishing. We should want human flourishing, and as far as I see it, maybe our access to technology and aggregated knowledge has created an opposite effect. It's made people. It seems to have made people shallow. And I mean that crosses across content intelligence, kind of on a XY axis. I think that if somebody gives you a complicated question, something complex to think about, I mean I feel like most folks have got like one thought and that's it. And on that note,
I want off this planet
oh shit,
because only 7% of people think chocolate milk comes from a brown cow. Go boys!
that's awesome.
We did, boys. We're stupid.
Stu.